Honestly, this can change your life, but we shouldn't even have to use it, except our environment has been poisoned by toxic halogens, where fluoride lowers IQ, bromide lowers IQ, chlorine lowers IQ. They are so devastating because they compete with iodine's intake in the body, therefore lowering thyroid production, lowering intelligence. So it's kind of hard to get away from, but you can protect yourself with this one simple thing. You can take iodine, preserve your body's function, get your body to the health that it would have been if you were born like 100 years ago and you didn't have to compete with all these toxic chemicals that are found in our environment. What about safety? As it's always a natural question with iodine. The RDA for iodine came out in 1948, so a long time ago, that stated that human beings should take 150 micrograms for proper thyroid function. But right now, as you're currently watching this video, there are people in mainland Japan that are consuming around 12.5 milligrams of iodine every single day through the consumption of seaweed. So I wouldn't say that is necessarily true. And they're doing this to a lot of positive health outcomes, where Japan has notoriously low rates of chronic health diseases in regards to the other Western countries. Historically, in the past, they used 250 milligrams to cure goiter. They used 37.5 milligrams for infectious diseases. A famous Nobel laureate who discovered vitamin C said that when he was a medical student, iodine was a universal medicine, where they didn't know exactly what it did, but they know that it worked good and it worked well. Is it plausible that as we go on in history, things have been either intentionally buried or just randomly forgotten? Is that possible? Well, it's an absolute probability. What about Byzantine fire? What about Damascus steel? What about moving these crazy megalithic stones in perfect arrangement in all of these places all around the world? The study that was done in 1948 that showed the negative effects of iodine supplementation on mice that were later extrapolated to human beings has never been replicated again in other animal species, in human beings, or even in independent studies. So it is a little bit questionable. And even within the study, they never measured thyroid hormones overall. And in addition, there is a lot of case reports throughout history of doctors treating patients with asthma with around 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of iodine with no thyroid suppression. There was a doctor that came out, Dr. Abraham, who kind of saw this and really wanted to make a stand for iodine. So he started treating around 4,000 patients in his clinic with around 12.5 milligrams of iodine daily, as it's thought that the thyroid needs around 25 to 50 milligrams of iodine to function optimally. So he opened up a clinic and started to treat around 4,000 patients with iodine around 12.5 milligrams daily, as he thought that was a sufficient dose to help build up over time, as it was thought that the thyroid needs around 25 to 50 milligrams of iodine to function optimally. It was at doses of this and iodine sufficiency that he began to see toxic metabolites like halogens getting excreted through a urine test, and so he can measure the effect that this had in the body. A question comes up from this though, where it's like, if this is so important, if iodine is so useful, yet you only really get it in appreciable amounts through seaweed. Obviously, people throughout history have been spread all around the world, people living very inland, people living in the Arctic, such as the Inuits. What happens to them if they don't get sufficient iodine, which they probably didn't just due to their location? If this is so important, why didn't they just die out or really suffer? Where the idea of this essentially comes from the environment that we live in, where this didn't used to be an issue 100, 200 years ago, but now in the world that we live in with fluoride, bromide, chlorine, other halogens as well, it is an issue. So you have to be a little bit proactive and you have to kind of go on the defensive a little bit. Where if you walk through a store and you walk through the laundry aisle and the dishwasher soap and all of that, you have to protect yourself because you're breathing in endocrine disrupting chemicals, It's like the environment is against you here, so you have to take that proactive approach. Ultimately, I think the best application of knowledge is experimentation, and I think that's a good starting point. Whatever you decide to do is what you decide to do, except I think if you're suffering with any chronic health conditions that nothing seems to fix, or if you just really want to optimize your health and kind of see how much further you can take it, I think that's a great thing to do, to experiment with Lugol's 2% iodine solution, as it can really be the missing key for a lot of people. And you're welcome to look on Google or Reddit for iodine antidotes of how this really changed people's life, because there is a lot of power here. I would say there's power in starting slowly in the beginning. I think a good starting point for most people would just be to take half a drop of Lugol's 2% iodine solution. So essentially, you would just have one drop in a cup of water and then just drink half a cup of water. Shake it around before you do that. And I think that's a really good thing that people can kind of gauge and see how they respond, and then you can kind of build it up from there. You could also take it with other adjunctive things that can help ease the transition into your body and optimize the effects. Things such as vitamin C, 1 to 2 grams, selenium. And if you want to check out the video that I did of how iodine changed my life, honestly, check out this video where I talk exactly about that, how it really kind of turned the light switch on in my head, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, this is possible.